You are not bad with money. You were trained to be bad with money. There is a difference. A big one. The person who trained you did not do it on purpose. Your parents, your community, the financial culture you grew up inside, they gave you what they had. The problem is what they had was built for a country you no longer live in. And that old programming is running right now. In your bank account. In your spending. In the opportunities you are walking past every single month. Here is what nobody says out loud. The financial behaviors that kept your family stable back home. The caution, the cash, the distrust of institutions, the save and pray approach. Those behaviors are not neutral here. In Canada, they have a cost. A specific, measurable, compounding cost. Today, we are going to name that cost. We are going to show you where it comes from. And we are going to give you a way out that does not require you to become a different person. It just requires you to update the software. Stay with me. The first number I give you is going to be uncomfortable. Let me give you a number first. The median net worth of a Canadian-born household and a recently arrived immigrant household at the same income level, the gap between those two numbers runs into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Same income, dramatically different wealth. That is not a discrimination story. That is a behavior story. And the behavior driving it is not stupidity, it is programming that has not been updated. Here is what that gap looks like in real life. You know people like this. Maybe you are this person. They earn well. 5 figures a month. The paycheck clears, the lifestyle expands, the debt climbs quietly in the background. No TFSA. No RRSP. No investments. Just income cycling in and out. Month after month. Year after year. And the honest truth? It is not because they do not care. It is because nobody ever showed them how money actually multiplies inside the Canadian system. They were shown how to earn it. Nobody showed them what to do with it after that. Whether you have been here 3 years or 20, if that description lands, this video is for you. The gap I just described is not permanent. But it is widening every year you wait. Let me show you what the data actually says. Because this is not an opinion. This has been studied. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada found that a significant number of Canadians earning above average incomes still carry high-interest debt. Think about that. Higher income, still losing money to interest every single month. The paycheck went up. The behavior did not. The Bank of Canada has tracked household debt levels for years. Canadian households carry one of the highest debt-to-disposable income ratios in the G7. Not the highest earners in the world. Among the most indebted relative to what they take home. That is a behavior problem, not an income problem. Now here is where it gets specific to newcomers. Research from Deloitte Canada, tracking the financial lives of immigrants, found something worth sitting with. A significant number of newcomers to Canada actively distrust formal Canadian financial institutions and prefer informal saving or sending money home through remittance channels, instead of building wealth inside Canadian registered accounts. That preference is not irrational. It is familiar. Back home, institutions failed people. Back home, cash was safer than a bank. Back home, sending money to family was the investment. Those instincts were earned. The problem is that instinct running unchecked inside the Canadian system quietly kills your TFSA contribution room year after year. It keeps your money outside the only accounts in Canada that let your investments grow completely tax-free. And the government does not send a reminder. That room disappears silently. Research on loss aversion, developed by psychologist Daniel Kahneman, shows that human beings feel the pain of a loss approximately twice as powerfully as the pleasure of an equivalent gain, which means the fear of losing money is biologically stronger than the motivation to grow it. That finding explains almost everything. It explains why a smart, hard-working person with a 5-figure monthly paycheck still cannot build a balance sheet. They are not lazy. They are loss-averse. And nobody taught them how to reframe the risk. I want to tell you something I do not say lightly, because it is personal. I grew up Filipino. And growing up, the financial curriculum in my house was simple. Study hard, get a decent job, work for someone stable, save what you can, and do not take risks you cannot see. That was the entire program. Nobody talked about how money multiplies. Nobody explained compound interest. Nobody mentioned that saving cash in a low-yield account, while inflation runs above you, is not actually safe. It feels safe. It is not safe. When I got older and started working in global organizations, I started watching colleagues around me. People earning serious money. 5-figure monthly paychecks. And almost none of them were building anything. Debt was climbing. The lifestyle was funded by credit. And not one of them seemed to think this was a problem worth solving. And then I watched recessions happen. I have been in the workforce long enough to have witnessed more than one. And every single time, the people who got buried were the ones carrying the most debt. Not the ones with the smallest paychecks. The ones with the most exposure. That is when I understood that the real risk was not investing. The real risk was standing still and calling it caution. I started doing the research. Not because I trusted a salesperson or followed a shortcut. Because I needed proof I could interpret myself. And the proof changed how I thought. Not motivational content. Not someone telling me to believe in myself. Actual data. Actual numbers. Actual performance history. And I will tell you this cleanly. Every shortcut I have seen others take, the get-rich schemes, the unregistered investments, the promises of fast returns, I have watched those up close. I have never seen one end well. Not once. The evidence in front of me was more convincing than any pitch. That is the proof I'm asking you to build for yourself. Not faith. Evidence. Let me give you the actual steps. Not concepts. Steps. This is what I call the Rewire Protocol. 3 moves. Each one implementable before this month is over. Step 1. Name your inherited financial belief. Before you can change a behavior, you have to see it clearly. Take 1 hour this week and write down 3 financial rules you grew up with. Not the ones you chose. The ones you absorbed. Things like debt is shameful, which means you hide it and never deal with it strategically. Or investing is gambling, which means you leave your TFSA empty year after year and call that safety. Or money talks are private, which means you never ask questions and never learn. Write them down. Then ask one question about each one. Was this rule built for Canada, or was it built for somewhere else? Because the answer changes everything. Most people cannot name their financial beliefs because nobody told them they had any. They think they are making rational decisions. They are not. They are running inherited code without knowing it. Step 2. Audit your registered account status. Today, this is not about how much you invest. It is about whether the container is even open. If you are a Canadian resident and you have not maximized or even opened your TFSA, you are leaving tax-free growth sitting on the table. The annual contribution room accumulates from age 18. If you arrived in Canada at 25 and you are now 35 and your TFSA has never been touched, you have accumulated years of unused room that you are carrying for free but earning nothing on. The same applies to your RRSP. Every dollar contributed reduces your taxable income for that year, which means the government is, in effect, matching a portion of your contribution through your tax return. That is not risk. That is math. Go to your online banking today. Find the registered account section. If it says 0, or if it does not exist, that is your starting point. Not a judgment, a starting point. Step 3. Build a proof file, not a vision board. Here is where most financial advice loses me. It tells you to visualize your goals, to feel wealthy. That is not how evidence-based behavior change works. What actually works is building a proof file. This means you track one investment, even a small one, even $25 a month in an index fund inside your TFSA, and you watch it move. Not daily. Monthly. You document it. When you see compound growth with your own eyes, in your own account, with your own money, the belief changes. Not because someone told you it would work. Because you saw it work. That is the only proof that rewires a fear-based financial brain. Start with something you can afford to leave alone for 12 months. The amount is not the point. The evidence is the point. You are building a new reference experience to replace the inherited one that told you investing means losing. Step 4. Run the debt cost calculation before you run from it. One of the most common behaviors in high-earning wealth per households is debt avoidance, not debt repayment. Avoidance. The balance is there. Nobody looks at it directly. This week, pull every balance and interest rate you carry. Write the monthly interest cost next to each one. Then add those numbers together. That total is what your fear is costing you every single month, not the debt, the avoidance of it. High-interest consumer debt in Canada, credit cards, buy now, pay later accounts, payday adjacent products, regularly runs at interest rates between 19 and 29% annually. No investment returns that consistently, which means paying down high-interest debt is the highest guaranteed return available to you right now. This is not a reason to avoid investing. It is a reason to sequence properly. Deal with the expensive debt first, then build. Step 5. Choose one data source. Follow it for 90 days. The final step is about replacing anxiety-driven financial information with disciplined, evidence-based information. Most people in this audience consume financial content the way they consume social media. Reactive, random, algorithmically driven. They see a video about one investment, then a video about another, then a warning, then a promise, and they end their session more confused than when they started. Pick one credible source. For Canadian context, the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada publishes free, well-structured financial education materials at Canada Key. Statistics Canada releases data on household wealth and debt that is publicly accessible. The Bank of Canada publishes consumer-facing research that does not require a finance degree to read. Follow one source consistently for 90 days. Not because one source has all the answers. Because consistency builds a frame of reference that reactive consumption never will. You are not trying to become a financial analyst. You are trying to stop making fear-based decisions and start making evidence-based ones. Those are very different goals. And the second one is achievable in 90 days. You were not born bad with money. You were taught a system that was never designed for where you are now. The gap between where you are and where you could be is not an income problem. It is an update problem. And updates are available. If this video gave you one thing worth acting on, subscribe to this channel. Every week I build content specifically for people doing what you are doing, earning in Canada, navigating a system that assumes you already know the rules, and trying to close the gap between income and actual wealth. Now here is the problem with everything we just covered. You can do all 5 steps of the Rewire Protocol. You can name your inherited beliefs, open your registered accounts, build your proof file. And then you will look around at what everyone else in your community is doing with their money, and you will feel the pull to follow them instead. That pull has a name. And it is destroying more immigrant wealth in Canada than almost any other single behavior. The next video on this channel is called Herd Mentality in Investing is Costing You Wealth. We are going to show you exactly how following the financial crowd, inside your cultural community, inside your workplace, inside your social circle, quietly dismantles everything you built. If you rewired your beliefs and then handed control back to the group, you lost. That video closes the gap. Here is what I want to leave you with. The most dangerous financial move is not the one that looks risky. It is the one that looks safe because everyone around you is making it.